Kia ora koutou, ko Angela Caves tōku ingoa, no mai, haere mai. My name's Angela Caves and I'm the Digital Events Manager with Digital Boost, and I'd like to welcome you to the Business Growth and Support Virtual Conference. This conference is for the regions of the West Coast, Nelson, Tasman and Marlborough. Welcome to session 3 on day 2 of our conference. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us on the webinar here. It's wonderful to have you. And if you are joining us via a live stream on either Facebook, LinkedIn or YouTube, welcome. All sessions of our conference are being recorded and will be uploaded to a YouTube playlist available for post-event viewing. The link to this will be distributed to all registered attendees. I'd like to introduce Joey from Connected, our collaborating partner organisation. Joey's going to run through how the webinar is going to work, and then she will be introducing our guest speaker from the Nelson Tasman Chamber of Commerce. Thanks, Joey.
Kia ora, Angela. Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Joey tōku ingoa, no whakatua hau. He mihi mahana tēnei ki a koutou katoa, no mai, haere mai, ki te hui or Business Growth and Support Virtual Conference for Te Tauihu. Welcome everyone and thank you for joining us today. My name is Joey and I'm the Employment Liaison Advisor at Connected here in Whakatū in Nelson, and I cover the Nelson Tasman area. Before I hand over to Ali from the Nelson Tasman Chamber, I'd just like to run through a couple of housekeeping tips. Attendees, you can see and hear the hosts, but we can't see or hear you. So if you have any questions, if you could please pop these into the Q&A function at the bottom of your screens, and we will answer these after the presentation today. I'd like to just start by giving you a brief of the Nelson Tasman Chamber of Commerce. Is a not-for-profit organisation that supports businesses and commercial activity in our region. The key purpose of Nelson Tasman Chamber is to help create the best commercial environment in which you can achieve your business goals. I'd like to now hand over to Ali, the Chief Executive of the Chamber. Kia ora, Ali.
Kia ora. Hopefully you can hear me okay.
We can, yep.
Great, thank you. And tēnā koutou katoa, thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this conference. It's very exciting. Just seconds before I was due to go live, my internet kicked me off, which is always a bit stressful just before you start, but now I'm back here, so that's good. So I'm ready to get rolling. So I'm just going to share my screen if that's all right, and hopefully this won't be too long and be too painful for people. Okay, let's start at the beginning. Thank you very much for that introduction to the Nelson Tasman Chamber of Commerce. And I think, I don't know if any of you were on the presentation just prior to this with the Marlborough Chamber of Commerce, but we are both part of the wider network of national chambers of commerce. And just a bit of a history lesson. The Nelson Tasman Chamber of Commerce has been around for quite a long time, supporting businesses in the region. And the first meeting was actually held on Thursday, the 18th of February in 1858 at the Trafalgar Hotel in Nelson. And the Chamber of Commerce in this region was actually the second Chamber of Commerce to be established. And just the reason for establishing it, the local business community was impacting quite a strong economic downturn, primarily due to the fact that the gold rush in Australia had dried up. So a lot of exports were no longer happening. So I guess the thing that I always like to say at this point is that the Chamber of Commerce is still around today. We've lived through many economic downturns, depressions, recessions, at least one other pandemic, not to mention a couple of quite significant wars. And the fact that the organisation is still here and has continued to operate in that through all of that time, albeit in a very different format today, I think is really just testament to the fact that it's really important for those organisations that can sit outside businesses and provide support to businesses at a very local level. And that's what I'll hopefully go on to talk a little bit about. So we've got a very clear vision at the Chamber of Commerce here in the region, which is strong business, strong community, strong region. We absolutely believe that if we work with those businesses to help them be the best they can, we know that from that we'll have a very strong community with decent employment, decent employers, and also businesses that can operate and function to the best of their ability. And then that obviously leads to a strong region in terms of the regional economic development and how we fare across the wider Nelson Tasman region. And we like to say it all starts with a strong business. And I do also think it's really important to acknowledge, and I think probably people on this watching this presentation will already be in that space, but for a lot of people, if you talk about business, they immediately have a certain view of what businesses are. In our world, businesses are very much those individuals who get up every day. They've got skin in the game. They're people who've invested in their business because they want to be doing the right thing. We don't necessarily deal with lots of large corporates. We have got some larger businesses in the region, but the people we deal with the businesses we deal with is essentially the people that we're talking about. And we are very focused on the fact that we're dealing with individuals and not some faceless entity. And again, for a region like Nelson Tasman, it's really important to understand how that region is made up in terms of its business profile. So the things that we do as a chamber, and this won't be too dissimilar from any other chambers of commerce around the country, and again, you've probably heard something about this, but we provide business support and capability building. We provide opportunities for promotion and networking, and that's something that we do a lot of, and I'll go into a little bit about that. We have events, and that's a large part of what we do in terms of being able to provide an opportunity for businesses to come together at conferences and also through the business awards, which I'll talk about briefly, and then also advocacy and representation. And one of the things that's really important to remember about chambers of commerce, and I think it's a bit of our secret superpower in some ways, is that we are truly independent. So we can advocate on behalf of our businesses, and we can represent our business community to local government and also central government, because we're not affiliated in any way, and it gives us that complete autonomy. And while a number of businesses, through the nature of what they do, will be aligned to other industry bodies, such as maybe Hospitality Association or some tourism industry association, the chambers of commerce, we sit and we're very agnostic. So it doesn't matter what sector people are in, we will represent across all those sectors. And for a lot of businesses, they don't naturally align with an industry body. They're the people that we tend to work with. So in terms of business support and capability building, we run lots of things across this area. The Regional Business Partnership Programme, this, again, you'll probably be familiar with, is a programme that's been running for many years. And until recently, it was run by New Zealand Trade and Enterprise. And now it sits with MB. And the RBP, we work as a contract partner with the Nelson Regional Development Agency on this, and we have a growth advisor that sits within the Chamber of Commerce. So this is the person that you want to come and see if you have got aspirations for growth. You're looking at some kind of capability support, which may be needing financial support or advice. And the RBP is the place to go for that. So if anybody is looking for that kind of advice, strategic support towards growth and potentially export, then come and talk to us at the Chamber of Commerce, and we can direct you through to the RBP program. We provide a lot of business workshops, and again, I'll go into those again just briefly in a minute. Something that not everybody appreciates that we do is we provide export certification. Our region is made up of many exporters. 60% of the economy is export driven, and we provide certification for those exporters, mainly certificates of origin, but we've got a very fast turnaround in that space. So we literally generally will respond within the working day. And if it's late in the day, then maybe the following day, but we respond very quickly, and most people will have their export certification within a couple of hours. So that's something that probably not unless you're exporting, obviously, but not a lot of people know that we do that. But that's something that's a very important part of our delivery for the region. Flexi wage support. This is a support that we provide through a contract that we have with the Ministry of Social Development. Flexi wage is for individuals who are looking to set up their own business. And it's an opportunity for them to get financial support for up to 6 months as they're setting that business up. And we employ somebody within the chamber who's basically essentially a business mentor. So he works with people who are looking at that flexi wage support to help them develop their business plan. So then they can be in a position to be able to receive and have approval for the flexi wage. And we've got a very entrepreneurial region, a very entrepreneurial country, and certainly post COVID, we're seeing a lot more people wanting to establish their own businesses. So for a chamber to be involved in this is really a useful place for us to be, because not only can we assist with the actual business planning and business development, we're also able to provide immediate access to a wider network of businesses. And we all know that having that networking opportunity and that collegial support from other businesses can be so helpful, particularly at that startup phase, because we don't want everyone just to keep falling into the same trap. So connecting into the chamber in that way has been really positive for those people on that program. Similarly, Artwork is a program that we have developed with support from Ministry of Social Development, and this is a pilot program that's running in the Nelson Tasman region. There are 4 pilots around the country, and Nelson is one of them. And part of the Artwork program, again, is to provide business support and mentoring to individuals who are looking to establish their own creative practice. I'll just flick through into some imagery now, because hopefully it'll be a bit less boring than looking at just a list of what we're doing. But before that, I just thought I'd just touch on some of the business workshops that we provide. And this is just a snapshot. We provide a whole range of business workshops for people at various levels of their business capability. And many of these are actually free or very low charge, depending on the nature of the workshop. The starting blocks workshops are people really at that beginning level of setting up a business. And these have grown out of the Artwork program, which I mentioned just earlier. They're for people who literally are right at, they haven't established necessarily what financial packages they're going to be using, or even how cash flow is running. They might be people who don't really understand how to set up all the business systems required in terms of reporting to the IRD, or even just the actual structure itself. So we provide some very basic training around business setup and those first couple of years of operation. And the starting blocks were, as I say, were primarily for people we're working with in the Artwork space, but actually they're open to anybody who's a member or not a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and at a very, very low cost to be involved in those. We also run a series called Smarter Better Business with Malek McLean as a partner in that, and these are free workshops. They are at a slightly high level. So these are for people who are already well established in their business, and they just want to sort of focus on a certain area. So leveraging technology is always a hot topic, and people need to understand the best tech for what they're doing. And it can be a whole sort of landscape of confusion. So having someone like MMCA being able to direct you through that is really helpful. Selling your value is another thing. People understanding, this is at the other end of the business life cycle. What is your business worth when you actually come to want to exit, and how you actually get your business ready for sale? And that's a really important part and parcel of owning a business. Building a better business as well, for people to understand how best to go about developing those work streams and those approaches to business, to ensure that they maximize their business opportunity. Other training that we've got currently on our books, as I say, this is just a snapshot, but we provide health and safety reps training, which is very important for anybody who employs, I think it's over 12 members of staff. I'll need to double check that, actually require people to have a health and safety rep, and we provide stage 1 training. We've just instigated a mental health first aid certificate. That's a 2-day course that we're running, and we're certainly seeing some interest in that. And we also run a leadership academy, which I'll just touch on briefly. Yeah, so the Leadership Academy has been established with the support of Interpeople, a human resource consultant. And the way that the Leadership Academy works is that we run a program over 8 weeks. We have a maximum of 15 people who participate, and they come together 2 hours once a week for 8 weeks. And they essentially hear from leaders, established leaders, or people who are really practiced in the art of leadership, to come and talk about leadership from all different aspects. And this is for people who are really at that sort of middle management stage of their career, who are looking to progress further, or maybe looking to move more into governance, or who've even got political aspirations. The Leadership Academy touches on all areas of leadership, from ethical leadership to design thinking and how you manage teams. So we run through this, and this program is always oversubscribed. We always have more people wanting to attend than actually we've got spaces for, but we do limit it to 15 per program, just because we know that by having that smaller group, we do get that cohort coming together. And it's a very much a Chatham House rules. So the discussions that happen in the room stay in the room, because some of the people who actually participate and present on this are very candid about the world that they live in and where they've come from. And we have everything from people who are leading businesses, I say, to some political leaders as well. So that's always been a very people do like that course. It's been incredibly impactful for them. This is the Artwork program. I just wanted to touch on this again, because this This is just an example of how we have integrated artwork into our own business. Every year we hold the business awards, and the last year we actually got one of the participants on the artwork program to create the physical awards for us for the winners of the various categories. And they're ceramic, those pieces that you're seeing there, from an organization called Kiln. And when they came to visit, when they started on the artwork program, they were really trying to establish exactly what their business was and how they were going to structure it and what they were going to do beyond just making ceramics. And they now have moved much more into teaching, providing workshops. And with the support of the Chamber, they've really focused their business in a way that has become far more connected to the tourism sector. And in fact, they're holding an event later this year called Clay Week, which really is taking this area to a whole other level in terms of being an event and an economic driver for that tourism sector. And working with artwork has certainly helped to put those guys into that position, which is fantastic. Another contract that we run is Young Enterprise, and some of you may or may not know about this through your own children, through your families. This is essentially a business competition that's a national competition, and we manage it for the top of the south for Te Tauihu, so from here over to Marlborough. And the way the competition works is that years 10, 11, 12 students, some into year 13 as well, they create a business, and then they go through a series of business challenges in order to be hopefully named as the regional finalist. The regional finalist then goes on to the national finals and participates at the competition in Wellington. Now, the way that we connect with the business community on this is actually very powerful, and that a lot of our this is a great way for our business community to give back. We have up to 60 business mentors and coaches. You'll see some in the photographs there who help the students, so they come on board to actually coach them through their business as they're developing it. And then we also have some who come on board as judges. They're the ones who actually put them through the Dragon's Den and the various challenges. But this works both ways, because while the students obviously really benefit from having the input from the business community, there's no doubt in my mind that the business community also really benefit from having access to the creative thinking of these young business people, because what they produce is so often so innovative, and the way that they approach it is so different to traditional business, that this has become a very powerful program. And we're really thrilled that we deliver this. We have about between 250 to 300 students every year who participate in the program. Obviously, as they run through and they go through various challenges, we end up with one team. But it's actually a very thankful project. We love the fact that we run this, and certainly the connection that we have with businesses as we run through this. We get incredible feedback, and we always get a really strong support from our business community, both Chamber members and the wider community. Another initiative that we have running, which people might not necessarily know about with the Chamber, is the Export Hub. So we developed this in partnership with Port Nelson, and I mentioned earlier that we provide export certificates, which is just a very functional, operational thing. But one of the things that we've identified is that there are a lot of small businesses and not so small businesses who are wanting to take the step into actually moving into export markets and looking at how they can grow their market in that way. And, you know, as you'll appreciate, it's a very daunting step for businesses to take. So by partnering with Port Nelson, we are able to deliver a series of support events, which really are there to help our exporters, existing and future exporters. And so as an example, over the last few months, not surprisingly, we focus a lot on supply chain issues. So we've worked with New Zealand Trade and Enterprise and their team to actually bring down some speakers who can talk about what actually is happening with supply chains, the shipping routes, and how that's all impacting on New Zealand, and ways to mitigate that if you're a smaller exporter in terms of consolidation, and some very practical support. We also look at, we don't just sort of sit in the practical space. We've also looked more recently at how you actually look at international branding in certain markets. We've got some very strong talent in the region, people who've worked in overseas markets very successfully, and they're very happy to provide their time and expertise to talk to businesses who are thinking about moving, particularly into Asian markets. Sometimes that can be quite daunting in terms of the cultural differences and what that looks like with branding and market positioning. So we provide, over the year, we generally provide anywhere between 6 to 8 sessions, some in person and some have been online, COVID dependent. But we find that these are very well supported, and a panel discussion we held on supply chain not that long, a few months ago, I think we had up to 80 businesses that came along to that. So it's a really good opportunity to get some practical advice and also meet people who hopefully have done it before you and have made all the mistakes that you don't want to make and are happy to share. And we do find that our people are very, very happy to share their experiences. Just moving on to promotion networking, that's quite a nice segue into that. We obviously, as a chamber, we provide a lot of networking opportunities. That's a big part of the marketing mix for that business to business requirement. And we find that networking and that face-to-face relationship building, we know how powerful that is. So we really go out, it's a big focus for us to ensure that we provide opportunities for our business community to get together. So every month we have a Findex BA5, which is a regular event whereby one member organization will host the other businesses, and we come together, and we typically have, depending on the time of the year, if it's school holidays, but we typically have anywhere between, at a low number would be about 60 people, but often we have over 100 people who attend these networking functions, and they happen every month for 10 months of the year. We have a couple of months off. We also provide or we hold chamber lunches, and we generally do this when there's a need and there's an opportunity that comes up. So the three that I've just noted there, Christopher Luxon, we hosted him last week. So as you'll appreciate, with the current political situation, people are very keen to hear from the leader of the opposition, and particularly here in Nelson, where we no longer have a sitting national MP. So that was a really good opportunity to hear from Christopher what exactly the National Party is doing in terms of planning for supporting the business community, what their policies are around particularly immigration, which is always a hot topic at the moment, and give people the opportunity to hear from him, but also to ask questions. Coming up in the next couple of weeks, we've got Megan Compain. She's a basketballer. We're really lucky to be hosting the women's basketball here in Nelson. It's part of the new league, so we're very happy about that. And we've got an opportunity to host a lunch with Megan when she's down. And we know that there'll be people who are really interested in coming to hear from her. She's been a coach. She's worked across many sports codes and is a very entertaining speaker. So we're happy about that. And then in September, we've got Ganesh Nana, who is the chairman of the Productivity Commission. And productivity, again, is a hot topic down here. Productivity in Nelson, Tasman is pretty low compared to the national average. So we're always trying to ensure that we can really get as much information as we can about how we can change that and what businesses need to do in order to be able to make that productivity higher. And it's all too easy to say it's just sunshine wages when we know that actually that's not the case, and many businesses are all paying well above that. So we've got Ganesh Nana coming up in September, but we typically hold lunches about once every quarter. And they generally, as I say, we use those as an opportunity when things come our way to give our business community the chance to connect with interesting speakers. We do also have promotion and networking opportunities. We have a regularly quarterly magazine, Commerce Comment, and this is an opportunity for us to be able to promote people's businesses. When people join the chamber, we always have a profile on new members so that they immediately get in front of the rest of the network. But Commerce Comment goes out to the wider community. And something I should have said at the beginning actually as well, we have a core membership. We actually, most of our things that we do are also available to the wider business community. Obviously, members have to get some benefit for being members of the chamber, but there are lots of things we do where there's always an opportunity for non-members to join in as well. And we also have member discounts, which is we have some national discounts that are available through our wider chamber network, and the likes of Noel Leeming and the usual sort of typical relationships that you would imagine from a business an industry organisation. But we also have an opportunity for our local businesses to provide discounts to other members. So, for example, you may be able to get sort of an hour's worth of HR advice, or we have people who provide a financial discount in terms of retail. So there's a whole range of discounts that people offer, and we're able to pass that on to our network, which is great. There's just some front covers of our Commerce Comment just to show you the sorts of things that we have. And the one you saw before that was after our business awards, and the one actually on the right of the screen with all the different images, they are photographs of people who entered the business awards. So we really do use as an opportunity to promote people, but I'll just mention that when we get to it, which is here. So events are another large part of our working day, and there are two large events that we hold ourselves, and then there's another one we partner with Westpac. So Aspire, that's an annual conference that we've been holding now, the Chamber of Commerce has been holding for many years, long before I was anything to do with the Chamber of Commerce. And every year we have a different theme. And this year the theme was Take the Lead. And that's really we try and reflect what's happening in the wider business community and the sorts of support that people are looking for. And one of the things that we have seen, particularly post-COVID, is people looking for ways in which they can really take the lead back in their organization. We see workforces that are quite disparate now, that we've got flexible working, so we've got workforces that rarely see each other. And how do you lead in that sort of situation? That becomes quite a complex cultural issue for some businesses. So we really wanted to sort of have a look at that and talk about different types of leadership and how that, how individuals lead, but how also they then really inspire their own teams also to take the lead in their own individual space. So we have we had 340 people attended the event this year, and that was a hybrid event. We had at least one speaker that we zoomed in who wasn't able to attend in person, and I think it's great that now we're all very much more across that and quite adept at doing those things. But Aspire, the next year Aspire is on July the 7th, 2023. And we've already established the theme will be climate change, because while we talk a lot about it around the edges, we know that climate change is something that's impacting heavily on the business community, and also that the business community can have a great impact on climate change and able to mitigate the impact. So we feel now is the time to really focus on that front and center in order to be able to start making some really practical changes and helping businesses as they step through what's going to become an increasingly legislated space, what we believe. The Nelson Pine Business Awards, again, they have been going, I think, since 1987, so again, long before my time. This year, the awards are open at the moment, and they close on September the 6th. And we hold the actual awards ceremony or event will be held in February next year. But we generally have anywhere between sort of 20 to 30 businesses enter, and we run the usual sort of, a range of business categories around large, medium and small. We also have a focus on startup businesses, innovation within a business, environmental impact, and also we have a community impact award, which is more focused on the not-for-profit sector, but also we do have some businesses who are truly commercial businesses that also will enter that. And we usually have an audience of about 400 people that attend that event, and it's always a rather glamorous black tie event, which is great. And we always, look forward to having an opportunity to really celebrate those businesses in the Nelson Tasman region that are doing something really different and willing to really put themselves out there and be judged on it, which is never an easy thing to do. But most businesses find it a very rewarding experience to go through and actually trial that out. And Westpac Smarts, this is an initiative that we've developed obviously with Westpac Bank. And it's a series of 4 presentations across the year. We've got one coming up in early September, again, looking at climate change. Actually seems to be a bit of a recurring theme at the moment, but we're working, we'll do a panel discussion. We're presenting with Belinda van Eindhoven, who's the head of sustainability for Westpac. She just happens to live in Nelson, Tasman, which is great. And we're holding a panel discussion with her, talking about really the implication of climate change and how that's really now also impacting even on, financial institutions and lenders. And if you're now looking for capital and investment in your building, the way in your business, the way that you actually are dealing with climate change is something that businesses, banks and financial institutions are going to be looking at. So it's becoming something that we really cannot ignore as a business community. And as a chamber, we really want to take the lead in making sure that our, right down to our smallest businesses, of which there are many here, really understand the full implication of what's happening in that space. The final thing I'll really talk to in any great detail is the advocacy and representation. And this is, as I said earlier, is a large part of what we do as a Chamber of Commerce. And I'm sure many of you probably are very familiar with hearing Michael Barnett on the radio, and he's probably, the Auckland Chamber is one of the largest in the country, and they certainly are, in terms of that national chambers, he is somebody who's heading up a lot of the national work. But this happens at every level across the chamber network, and we really are in a very fortunate position, as I said, to be very nimble in this space. So some of the things that we are specifically involved in, I'm co-chair of the Regional Skills Leadership Group, which was established by MB. And this is in response to the review of vocational education, which is lots of acronyms, ROVE and RSLGs. But one of the reason we've been established is to look at workforce planning for this region, to understand what those key drivers of our economy are in terms of the sectors, and then what are the workforce requirements needed for that, what training is required, and how does that connect with our training providers, particularly NMIT, but also the independent training organisations that operate in this region as well. So the Regional Skills Leadership Group has just published its first workforce plan, and we're moving into the second one now. The first one, we very much focused on two industry sectors, being the seafood industry, not surprisingly for this region, and also construction, because we do know that construction is very much under a lot of strain at the moment. But equally, we have got a region which has got a large looming construction work plan ahead of us. We've got a hospital build on the horizon, a number of other civic projects. So we know that construction is going to be stretched even further. We also focused on the ageing workforce and youth as part of that as well. So we're very involved in that in terms of ensuring that the business community's voice is really heard within that workforce planning, and it stays at a very practical level. I guess that's our main focus. We were very involved with the Te Tauihu intergenerational strategy, which is again a high level economic development strategy which has been developed for across the top of the South, and we were the voice of the small business very much in that space to ensure that that was the view of that community was built into that strategy as well, which is hugely important because that's become the guiding document for the 3 councils across the top of the South and also many other organisations. We were part of Project Kōkiri, which is the regional response to the impact of COVID. So we're, again, often I'm the only person on the call that isn't employed by government sometimes. So I'm there really trying to sort of champion that business voice to ensure that it's not lost in all of the other issues that we face, the health issues particularly that we faced through COVID. We know that for small businesses, every worker is an essential worker. So we really want to keep that voice very strong. We regularly have ministerial visits. In fact, today we've just been meeting with Minister Nash, who's down in Nelson for a tourism conference. And that's an opportunity. We've had 2 meetings with him. One was with a number of small business operators, particularly in the tourism space, because that's one of his main portfolios, but also a wider conversation about regional investment in terms of economic development projects. So again, as a chamber, we make sure that we get in those meetings and we are there to have that representation and make sure that it's not just large sectors and large businesses that are represented, but it's everybody. You'll all be probably very aware, or hopefully you're very aware, that we've got local body elections coming up soon. So that's an opportunity for us to really get the business community's voice in front of those people who are standing for council. And we use this as an opportunity to really question those or interview those candidates in terms of exactly what their position is and how they view the business community in terms of that wider context and what they think is the opportunity for council support. So we're very, we're pretty, used to doing this now. It's something that we regularly do. And we're very much looking forward to the next few weeks when we're going to once all the nominations are in and we know exactly who we're talking to. The Skills Hub, this is actually related in part, but not specifically, but to the Regional Skills Leadership Group. The Skills Hub is a regional bid for just that, a skills hub to be put in place to really support the construction sector. So we've been a strong voice in supporting that because, again, we know that our local construction sector really, our businesses really need to be able to access the skills that they require in order to be able to deliver a lot of the construction projects that are looming. And we do know that for a lot of people at the moment, staffing is one of the biggest headaches, and it can't be underestimated just how detrimental that is, not only just to the productivity of a business, but also in fact just to the levels of stress within a business. And that's something that we're really conscious of, is how we can help mitigate that. So the Skills Hub is, I think, going to be a really vital piece in that whole jigsaw, and we're very, very excited and happy to be supporting that, and hopefully we'll be successful in our bid to government to get that up in place, up and running. Finally on that list, Businesses for Climate Action. This is a group that was established by, I'll name them because most people might know who they are, but the Cheer sisters, Florence Van Dyke and her sister Chloe Van Dyke, Katrina Kidson, I think Fonterra were involved initially as well, came together and developed a very sort of loose grouping called Businesses for Climate Action. They weren't any particular legal entity at that point. They were just a group of businesses wanting to do something. They were very successful in attracting some funding from council, so we umbrellaed them. In order for them to be able to operate, they needed to be able to work with an organisation like ours to really put some structure around what they're doing. They're now their own entity. They've set themselves up as their own business, or sorry, their own trust, and we're still working alongside Businesses for Climate Action. They've developed a campaign called Mission Zero, which is really helping, again, small businesses, give them the tools, give them the support and advice that they need in order to be able to move forward in a way that isn't too detrimental to their day-to-day. Oh, that's just a photograph. I took that during lockdown when we were having a Q&A with Minister Robertson. And I sort of laugh at myself in this because I do look slightly bored, but it was a very interesting conversation. But it just really shows, I guess, the power of the chambers around the country, that we're able to come together and have opportunities to put questions to the minister and really put forward as well some of the issues that are facing the business community, and have that really live conversation with them. Oh, that's the Businesses for Climate Action I was talking about, and Mission Zero, who are that's the campaign that they're currently running, and certainly we'll be working with them as we move towards our Aspire conference for next year. This is my final slide. I guess this is just a sort of in a snapshot. I just wanted to do a quick summary of everything I've talked about. I appreciate that I have covered probably quite a lot of ground, but I guess I wanted to let people know the sorts of things that the Chamber can do and how we can support businesses. And I guess I also wanted to be able to show you how far and wide we go with that. And our door is always open for good ideas. And I think that's something that hopefully we've demonstrated through the work we're doing with artwork, which was an opportunity that we really took on board. The work we're doing with Mission Zero, Flexi Wage. There's actually another thing on there, which is the Nelson Tasman Insights Panel. This is something we established in partnership with NBS and also the Regional Development Agency, looking at how we can get really good insights from our local business community. So it's a quarterly survey that we've been running that we try and then match up against some of the national surveys that come out around business confidence. It's always good to have that regional view because often nationally the numbers are fairly low. And then just some numbers there. You can see last year we had 56 workshops, presentations, seminars with over 3,000 people attending. So we connect with a lot of people, and we're always here really to help as much as we can. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ellie. I'm just having a look. I've got a few questions. Here we go. So what is the best way for a business to sign up to the Chamber?
Probably to go to our website, actually, which is just www.commerce.org.nz. Just if you just Google Nelson Tasman Chamber of Commerce, then you will get the website will come up. That's the best way, and there's a link there, and you can just very easily join. Our phone numbers are all on there as well, so if anybody wants to just have a chat with us, they're very welcome to do that too. And we're located at the CoLab at NMIT, the Mahi Tahi CoLab, and sometimes people just literally walk through the door, and that's also perfectly fine.
Right. And is there a cost to the membership?
Yes, so
on the size of your business.
Absolutely. So the cost is FTE related. I think the lowest cost is $250 a year plus a joining fee if you haven't been a member before, and that's for the sort of the smallest FTEs. Then we have it in bands that sort of grade up, and the highest cost I think is about $1,200 plus GST if you employ over 30 people.
Great. You talked a lot about the events. So the next question is around that. Where are your networking events held?
We hold events in a variety of places. So our BA5s will hold with member businesses. They will host because they want the opportunity to be able to promote their businesses to the wider network. Other events, if they're export hub events, we might host them here at the CoLab. Sometimes we've hosted them at Port Nelson. It really depends on what we're doing. Most events we do, even if it's a workshop, we try and have a networking element as well, because we know that some people do want to stay and join in. So we're doing our the next Westpac Smarts event is at the Rutherford Hotel. So it's a whole range of places. We do also, I should hasten to add, we do try and get to Golden Bay and out to Richmond as well. I've been very Nelson centric, I realised, in all of those locations. But we did have an event lined up to go to Golden Bay, and then unfortunately COVID hit. But we're just putting in place another one at the moment.
Great. So just on that, so you cover from Nelson right through to Golden Bay?
Absolutely. Yeah.
The next question is, I'm the owner of my business. Is it only me that can come to these events, or can staff attend?
Everybody who's employed by you can attend. Essentially, the business becomes the member. So everybody who's employed by that business, by virtue of being employed, becomes a member of the Chamber of Commerce. So they get access to all of the discounts as well. So when a business joins, we give everybody the membership card in that organisation, so they can go to Noel Leeming and get, their discount of quite significant discount actually at Noel Leeming. So, everybody is. So what we say is we've got a membership of about 540 or so businesses, but about 8,000 people.
Great. And if I wanted to talk to someone about my business, where's the best place to go?
Probably just to either just say, give us a ring, just come and talk to, pick up the phone, or just pop in. And there's usually somebody here who can help. But best thing to do is probably just give a ring first or email through, and we can certainly make a time to come and see you, or to meet with you. And depends on what sort of support you're looking for. If we haven't got that in-house, we can absolutely direct you to the people who've got it.
Awesome. Great. That's it, I think. That's it. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Over to you, Angela.
Thanks, Chloe, and thank you, Ali. What an amazing amount of work that the Chamber is doing. It must keep you extremely busy, but such a busy wee place up there. So yeah, just well done and congratulations, and what a wealth of support the business community has up there in the Nelson Tasman Chamber. Thanks, Ali.
Thank you. No, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much. And I hope the rest of the conference goes well.
Thank you. Just on screen there, what our audience will see is the contact details for our employment liaison advisors at Connected. So if you have been part of this conference in any way, shape or form and you forget everything, please remember the one thing, which is Connected is there to be that conduit of connection to the likes of Ali at the Chamber and the other partnering organisations that we've had join us for the conference. Digital Boost is here hosting and supporting and collaborating with Connected because we're here to support New Zealand small business as well. If you are looking at starting your digital transformation journey or are partway through it and need some support, the free learning platform that is Digital Boost is available to all New Zealanders. There is a tool on there called Checkable. If you have a website, it will do a full diagnostic report for you and let you know how your business is going in terms of that digital footprint. So please jump on there and utilise Checkable. As I said, it is free and it will help you take those next steps just in small chunks, so it's actually manageable to start that digital transformation and have that presence online for your business. That does bring our session to a close. So once again, huge thank you to Ali for joining us. Thank you to Joey from Connected. Up next at 3 o'clock, we've got a session with the Nelson Regional Development Agency. And then our last session at 4 o'clock this afternoon will be with Development West Coast. So I do hope to see you in those sessions if they're going to be of value to your business. Other than that, thanks again for joining us. If you joined on the webinar here or via a live stream, it's been a pleasure to host you this afternoon. Have a wonderful afternoon, everybody. Thank you.